Mitchell's Brewery in South Africa. We call it AAA Beer. Ethel, Alex and Andy. These are the three A. Mitchells who were involved with South Africa's first craft brewery, Mitchell's Breweries Pty Limited. The story is an interesting one, not least of all because there is no blood relationship between any of the three Mitchells, although this is often thought to be the case. The saga started way back in 1982 when Lex, or Alex, Mitchell left South African Breweries, Newlands Brewery in Cape Town, to start up his own microbrewery in Knysna, a small but beautiful village about halfway between Cape Town and Port Elizabeth on the southeast coast of South Africa. The position of the village was significant because it was too far from either of the big cities for SAB to bother with draft beer deliveries and service. This was a gap exploited by Lex when he began producing the only English-style draft ales in South Africa. At the time, SAB had a reputation of buying up and shutting down all opposition, but Mitchell's somehow survived and grew into larger premises in the industrial area of Knysna. In 1989, Lex opened up a brewery in Cape Town on the waterfront with a number of partners, one of whom was Ethel Mitchell. As I mentioned before, there is no blood relationship to Alex. After a few months, the number of partners was reduced, and Cape Town-situated Mitchell's Waterfront Brewery was owned by Ethel and Alex. In 1995, the international division of Scottish and Newcastle Breweries, at the time the largest brewing group in the UK, having just taken over Courage Brewery, expressed an interest in acquiring a foothold in the emerging third world market of South Africa. Lex and Ethel sold off 49% of their shareholding to Scottish and Newcastle. This left them able to buy the liquidated St George's Brewery in Boysens, Johannesburg. Mitchell's beers had been brewed under license in Johannesburg for about 2 years, and the time was right to open their own brewery. Andy Mitchell, whom Lex had known from brewing course they both did while working for SAB at different centres, was approached by Lex to take over the brewing and management in Johannesburg, and came with 13 years' experience from SAB, followed by some 2 years running a small microbrewery in Durban North. This small microbrewery was at the time closed, but had been giving Mitchells a run for their money because of the better quality locally produced beer in Durban, where the Mitchells beer was brewed in Johannesburg without Mitchell's supervision and then transported to Durban. Andy was at that time running a wastewater treatment plant as a biochemist and plant manager in Durban. This completed the trilogy, and Mitchell's beers received a AAA rating in Cape Town, Johannesburg and Knysna. The rest of the saga unfolds with Scottish and Newcastle buying Ethel's shares and sending out Peregrine Solly to manage Mitchell's Breweries South Africa. Lex retained his shares in the Cape Town and Johannesburg operations and 100% ownership of the Knysna Brewery until 1998, when he sold everything to Scottish and Newcastle and virtually retired from management, only providing services as a consulting director. This left Andy as the only Mitchell involved. The Johannesburg brewery was closed, and for a time brewing was done at Bavaria Brau in Pretoria under Andy Mitchell's supervision, who, as the only qualified master brewer in the group, looked after beer quality issues at the other breweries as well. Scottish and Newcastle then sold the group back to a consortium led by Ethel, and Andy took a retrenchment package from them. This consortium also broke up, and the two remaining Mitchell's breweries are now separate companies, with Ethel Mitchell owning and managing the Cape Town waterfront operation, and Dave McRae, the long-time brewer and manager of the Knysna Brewery, managing part-owning Mitchell's Knysna Brewery with another partner. Alex Mitchell is now retired, living in Port Elizabeth, where he still dabbles in home brewing. Andy Mitchell took up a position managing the Birkenhead Brewery and Wine Estate in Stanford, just outside of Hermanus. This ensured that the quality of beers produced by South Africa's leading craft brewers was still available to those discerning drinkers who were prepared to go out of their way to find something different from the mainstream. Andy has since emigrated to Australia, where he retired after 10 years as head brewer at the Australian Beer Company in New South Wales and a year at a meadery stroke brewery in WA, which he helped set up and run. Athol is now retired from the brewing game, and Dave McRae is still in Knysna. He had bought the brewery equipment from Athol in Cape Town and moved it to Knysna, from where he supplied Cape Town with Mitchell's famous beers. Pretty much full circle back to where Alex Mitchell had started. Dave is now a brewing consultant in the Knysna area of the Western Cape, and Mitchell's Brewery in Knysna is still operating under different owners. Mitchell's Brewery was the first independent craft brewery in South Africa. There are now 220 odd craft breweries, and the number is growing.